Good evening, students. This is we will continue the genre of drama tragedy. Okay, and now they divide tragedy. Tragedy can be divided into two types: classical and the romantic. Okay, so tragedy is divided as two. One is classical, other one is romantic. So, what do you mean by classical tragedy? The classical tragedy was based on Greek conventions like the observation of unity of time, action, and place, and the employment of the chorus. The classical tragedy dealt with the great legends of mythical age. Its chief characters were majestic heroes. Classical tragedy, that is the pattern followed by the ancient Greek tragedy playwright. And this is supported by Aristotle also, and they follow the unity of time, place, and action, and they use songs and as well as chorus. So, what are the classical tragedy convention? The unity of time. Let me explain one by one. Unity of time is that is the story happens within 24 hours of time. Okay, within 24 hours of time, all the incidents should take place. And then unity of place is all the incidents should take place in only one place. Okay, that is unity of place. And unity of action. Each and everything should have should be written in coherence. Okay, not even a single dialogue, a single scene can be deleted. Everything, every scene and every dialogue is important to the drama. Okay, that is said to be unity of action. And there should be song and there should be chorus. So what do you mean by chorus? Chorus is what is it? They are the set of characters who observe the story and interpret the story for the audience, and they become a mediator between the playwright and the audience, and they interpret the story for them. Okay, and mostly they sing songs, and using the song they express the tension for the audience. And there are also characters. There are also characters in the story also. They are somewhat, we can say that chorus are like the common people in the story itself. Okay, there is a hero and people are observing the hero, and for example, he is going to wage a war. And when the hero announces that I am going to wage a war against that country, and the chorus will up, and then he leaves the place and chorus will come. The hero is going to wage a war against the country. Will he get success or not? If he gets success, these things will happen. If he is defeated in the battle, then these are the consequences. We are excited, or we are very anxious about the result of the war. Something like that. The people will think about the war. And the war scene cannot be staged per stage. The chorus will tell. So this is what happened in the at last the hero dies. How he bravely fought, and everything is discussed by the chorus themselves. Okay, so that is to be chorus. This is an element in a tragedy, and this is supported by Aristotle also, and many ancient Greek tragedy playwright followed the used chorus. And the tragedy dealt with great classical tragedy always deals with great heroes and mythological heroes and legendary characters. Then only they could be called as heroes, and common man with mere weakness cannot be called as heroes. So this is another feature for a classical tragedy. An ideal tragic pitch was maintained in the dialogue, and the rendering was marked by stateliness and nobility of expression. Okay, the tragedy is predominantly tragedy is made on audience by the dialogues and acting performances. Okay, so using this tragedy is created. And moving to next one, the romantic tragedy, which reached its perfection, not always limited by the observation of three units, it also dispersed with the chorus. In romantic tragedy, the plot may stretch over a long period of time. There may be subplot, and there is usually mixing up of tragic and comic elements. Romantic tragedy is generally concerned with matters remote from ordinary life. So romantic tragedy, they do not follow the rules of Aristotle. They do not follow the three units and the use of chorus. They don't follow such kind of rules and regulations, and they make a common man as their heroes, with lots of weaknesses, with lots of foolishness. Despite the lead character, the protagonist, being fool and being a common man, still the tragedy pays per return, and they don't follow any rules, and they don't follow the three units or use chorus, and the time is unity of time is violated. The story begins from 1 year, the ends in another ends in after 20 years or 5 years. Likewise, the unity of time is violated, and unity of place is violated. First scene happens in England, the next scene could happen in France. The place is also unity of place is also violated, and the unity of action is also violated in a romantic tragedy. So there could be unnecessary scenes, there could be comedy scenes, and there is no unity of action. If we delete the particular scene, still the story is understood. Okay, and the audience can understand the story if even if the certain scenes are deleted. So the unity of action is also violated. Yet so they are called as romantic tragedy. Okay, the romantic tragedy is, even if it is a tragedy, the comedy scenes are made. That is another important feature of unity of action. In a tragedy, no comedy scenes should be added. In a comedy, no serious scenes should be added. So this is another important feature of unity of action, and this is violated in romantic tragedy. And there could be a main plot and a subplot. Okay, unnecessarily there could be many more characters. Okay, there is a protagonist, there is a hero, and there is also another hero, and there are many characters. Even if we don't have those characters, there could be a well-defined story. Okay, but in a classical tragedy, such things are not there. All the characters are given importance. If we delete a certain character, then the whole drama is not understood. The feel of the drama, the understanding ability of the drama is completely lost if we delete some characters in a classical tragedy. But in case of romantic tragedy, the such things are not there. If we delete some characters or scenes, still they are understandable. Okay, and there is a mixing up of tragic and comic elements. The romantic tragedy is generally concerned with matters remote from ordinary life. It is both idealistic and realistic. It is not written to a set pattern and is never didactic. On the basis of themes, there are several types of tragedies. Romantic tragedy doesn't care about moral message, moral values. But in case of classical tragedy, they care more for moral values. But romantic tragedy, they don't give any moral message to the society or to the audience. And fantasy, they are unrealistic. They use unrealistic stories, and so they are all features of romantic tragedies. And next, on the basis of themes, there are several types of tragedies, like the horror or revenge tragedy of Kyd and Webster, heroic tragedies of Dryden, and domestic tragedies of George Lillo. Okay, based on themes like horror, revenge tragedy, and based on these themes, we have various kinds of tragedies, and Kidd and Webster's Webster wrote revenge tragedies, and Kidd wrote horror tragedies, and heroic tragedies of Dryden, domestic tragedies of George Lillo, and they are all various other kinds of tragedies themselves. Okay. The Elizabethan romantic tragedy was essentially poetic. However, in 18th century, poetry gave place to prose. In 20th century, poetic drama had been revived in the place of W.B. Yeats, T.S. Eliot, and Christopher Fry. Okay. So we have various kinds of tragedies, and Kidd wrote horror tragedy, and Webster wrote revenge tragedy, and we have domestic tragedies and heroic tragedies. Giving more importance to hero is called as heroic tragedy, and domestic tragedies are based on within the home, inside the home. All the elements and stories take place inside the home, and yet it ends in a tragedy, and that is called as domestic tragedies. And horror tragedy, the feel of horror is followed, and at the same time the lead protagonist dies. So that is called as a horror tragedy. Revenge tragedy, the theme is revenge. How the protagonist is how the hero is going to take revenge. So that is called as revenge tragedy. And the Elizabethan drama was poetical. Okay, they wrote, they used poetry in the drama, but later on the tragedies were written on prose. Okay, using prose, all the dialogues were written. And in beginning of 20th century, T.S. Eliot, Christopher Fry, and W.B. Yeats revived poetic tragedy, and they wrote poetic drama. Okay, so that's the end of this topic, tragedy. Thank you.